Yo guys, Punkrat with another video. Less than 2 weeks, fellas. Less than 2 weeks. We're almost there. Now with the launch right around the corner, getting raid ready is gonna soon be your focus once you've leveled up to endgame level. I'm sure you've all heard of pre-raid gear or pre-raid BIS, pre-BIS sets by now. Those buzzwords have been flying around non-stop in the community. It refers to the best gear that you can get before stepping into a raid, so pre-raid, best in slot gear. Pre-raid BIS. This is the real first grind in classic WoW. It's the first thing that you want to do to get your character to reach a base level of strength so that you can compete on a decent level. When collecting a pre-raid BIS set, you're going to be focusing on specific dungeons and maybe even specific bosses, farming those spots over and over again until you get the desired item on your grocery list. It's actually a really fun aspect of character progression in classic, and since you'll be manually forming groups to get the job done, you're most likely going to forge bonds with other players who aid you in your journey. So with that being said, let's go over some specific bosses that drop top tier pre-raid items which are easy enough to get to within the actual dungeon so you can farm them repeatedly over and over again without actually having to clear the entire instance. Here we got repeatable boss farms in classic WoW. Let's get into it. Okay, so first on the list, we've got probably the most well-known one, just due to the sheer amount of rogues, hunters, and warriors running all over the place in vanilla. All of which are generally wearing the exact same shoulder pads till pretty much AQ 40. We've got Pyroguard Emberseer, the first boss in Upper Blackrock Spire. So this boss, again, drops some of the best physical damage shoulders available, True Strike shoulders. These are some of the most highly demanded shoulder pads in the game at early launch, so the fact that it drops off the first boss in UBRS makes the whole process of attaining them a whole lot easier, since you can start an Emberseer farming group and just kill the first boss over and over again. All you need to do is make your way through the first room, then unbanish Emberseer by clicking the small shrine that's right ahead of him with your teammates, and then the boss will be enabled. So the True Strike shoulders are very unique in the sense that they actually don't give any base stats at all, they only give damage value. They have a flat 2% chance to hit on them and 24 attack power, just a total glass cannon item. There's really no other option out there, and the fact that they give 2% is unique to this item specifically. Quite simple, can be done super fast, and you could farm these again over and over again until your entire guild is stacked with them. Now you can also extend this grind a little bit. There's actually 2 extra bosses that people sometimes farm halfway through the dungeon when farming specific items in Upper Blackrock Spire. So the first thing is farming Jed. Jed's actually a rare spawn boss who has a chance of showing up in the room right before Warchief Rend, right above actually the Emberseer boss room. So while doing Emberseer farms, you could actually type /target Jed, and if he's up there, I mean, you might as well clear up to him, right? Or of course, you could just do specifically Jed farm runs, where you reset the dungeon over and over again until you're actually able to target Jed, and once you get an instance ID that actually has him confirmed, you clear it. People also tend to use alts to do this, as to not get the "you've entered too many instances recently" lockout, blocking their way to just do more clears. So they'll bring in an alt, try to find him, try to get an ID, and then they'll all go clear that ID. He drops one of the best early caster trinkets in the entire game in Briarwood Reed. It's just got 29 spell power on it, and that's pretty much not available at this point in the game. This is pretty much the best trinket for casters and even healers at early launch, or at least it's one of them. So if you want it, it's a real pain to get considering the boss is actually a rare spawn, and you're generally 10 people in a UBRS group. So be ready to spend a lot of time in UBRS resetting the dungeon over and over again. Now if you want to push the farm even a bit further than that, and this is also again another very common one, you could do Rend runs, where you clear to Warchief Rend, which is the middle boss of the dungeon, the one who has that wave gauntlet down in the pit before he comes down to fight alongside his dragon. So Rend drops the Dalren swords, which are some of the best swords available before entering a raid. There's also Eye of Rend, which I mean, come on, do I even need to say anything about this one? Rend also drops these 2 items, so you got healer boots that are quite high quality and these Fury Warrior bracers, which are again really good as well. His dragon Gith, which he actually rides in the boss encounter, also drops good loot, so you get loot off both of them once you've completed the encounter. Gith drops a really nice healing helm and a great tanking helm, so Rend is quite good to farm in guild runs, and you also have to kill Emberseer to get to Rend, so you could be farming True Strike shoulders and also be farming everything off Rend. So I guess in conclusion, the first 3 bosses in UBRS are worth power farming over and over again if you don't want to do full clears. Okay, now this one is quite easy. You have to kill quite a bit of trash to actually get there, just due to the dungeon design, but it's not the end of the world, and the item that drops is more than worth the time that you'll spend killing the trash. Not to mention, the trash actually helps buffer the time a little bit, which will avoid you getting locked out from running too many instances within that hour interval. So the dungeon is Stratholme. You can get to this boss by either going on live side or dead side, it doesn't really matter, but the undead side entrance is much closer to the boss spawn location. So the way the start of this dungeon is set up on both sides, it's just a bunch of streetways, like you're basically in the city. But it's lined with zombies and skeletons the whole way till each respective entrance to either dead side or live side. In the middle of both sides, on the streetways, there's almost like this little back alley, I guess you could say. It seems quite innocuous at first glance, just a connection point between the two sides. But there is actually a little bit of a secret there, or I guess a pretty well-known secret. There's actually a boss hiding in the shadows. If you walk through that alley, a ghost boss will actually just appear out of nowhere with 4 other ghost minions. His name is the Unforgiven, and again, you don't even have to make it to live or dead side entrance to actually engage this boss at all. He's pretty much near the entrance. He's really easy to get to. Now, why he's worth farming is he actually drops a mask. It's called Mask of the Unforgiven, and it's one of the best starter melee headpieces during the first couple of phases. Here are the stats. So we've got 12 stamina, 2% chance to hit, and 1% chance to crit. A really nice starter helmet for melees who are starving for hit rating. He also drops tanking shoulders, which are quite rare in the early days until Dire Maul is released. There aren't that many tanking shoulders with plus defense on them, so these are a really good grab. So you got 2 great items off a boss that's really easy to get to. You don't even actually have to have a full 5-man group to farm it, so you could go with a rogue, a healer, and a tank if you really want to. Maybe add 1 more DPS on a fresh server, since you guys will probably be doing this while you're quite undergeared, but you don't need 5 people. So this one is also very well known, and I'm 100% sure that a lot of you guys know about this boss, or you've done these farms specifically if you've played vanilla before. It's Razfrost Whisper, which is a later boss in the dungeon Scholomance. But there's actually a way to get to that boss very quickly with the right strategy. So right when you enter the dungeon, you're on this bridge, suspended over a room full of zombies. It's kind of like a scene straight from The Walking Dead, but with wizards and shit, starring Peter Dinklage. So you can just jump down into the pit of undead flesh and quickly fight your way to the gate right over here. This door requires a key. To get the key, you have to go through this door up here and then go kill Rattlegore to the left side. He's a boss in an underground room, which isn't so far away and is quite easy to kill. You get the key, and then you can unlock the door. So you get through, and immediately you can just walk across this room right here with all the like weirdo cult members and just get to that Lich Chamber. There's actually good items here that drop in the first place, the best of which being freezing Lich Robes with 43 frost spell damage increase on them. We've got Shivery Hand Wraps, which is pretty much along the same line. Now these are great because mages are going to be frost spec'd for the good first portion of the phases. You got these tanking gloves, which are one of the best available tanking gloves before Molten Core also, and these legs are also pretty good if you're a shaman or paladin healer. Oh, there's also a shield. So sometimes shields can be a bit of a pain. You're struggling to get Draconian Deflector. If you're having bad luck with drops, you might as well just settle with this one as a tank since it's really easy to farm. But it doesn't end there. Razfrost Whisper also drops the recipe for Flask of Supreme Power. So if you're an alchemist, you'll be doing this a whole lot to get that extremely lucrative recipe. And not to mention, to add on to this, but the only place to actually create a flask is at an alchemy lab in Frost Whisper's chamber. Until of course Blackwing Lair is released, and then you get that extra alchemy lab after Broodlord Lashlayer, after the suppression room. So you'll be doing these runs to get to Razfrost Whisper's room, even if you don't even need anything off of the actual boss itself, just to get access to that alchemy lab to make your flasks. But I'd suggest for mages and tanks specifically to get the robes and get the gloves. Really good starter items. Okay, now this one I've already covered in a video that I made last week actually, so I'll just quickly glance over it here. It's the BRD Arena Grind, which is one of the first bosses in Blackrock Depths. There's actually an arena event right past the first big prison room, and this event actually has a chance of spawning one of 6 bosses. The important bosses being Gorosh the Dervish and Okthar the Breaker. There's a couple other decent ones that drop decent items, but these are definitely the highlights. So here's the best items that you could get from here off these 2 bosses. So Gorosh the Dervish drops Savage Gladiator's Chain, which is pretty much the best chess piece for a Fury Warrior till AQ 40, not to mention it's epic. It's also very good for hunters as well. We've got Bloodclaw Band, which is a really strong ring for healers, it's an entry level ring. We've got Leggings of the Frenzied Magic, which again is a healer item. It's good for Resto Shamans, Paladins, and Druid healers. So Okthar the Big Blue Ogre drops Banthok Sash, which is one of the best belts that you can get on a caster until you're actually able to sacrifice it to replace it with a crit belt after getting your hit cap with your other items. So it's basically depending on how you're itemizing. It's the best available belt in the entire pre-raid BIS list for mages and warlocks. And here's a little anecdote. I actually used this belt pretty much till I got my tier 3 one on my mage on an old server that I used to play on. I didn't really get lucky and I couldn't sacrifice the hit, and I actually used this until I got tier 3 belt. So we've also got Cyclopean Band, another good healer ring. Ogre Seer's Fist, which is again another good healer item. So in general, just a good amount of pre-raid items here, and all you gotta do is actually just clear a couple mobs, get to the arena, complete the event, and reset the dungeon, rinse and repeat. Extremely easy to do, and a really nice reward for how easy it is. Now, as I stated in my other video, you could also push it a little bit further and do a lava jump run to get to Emperor Thorson, who's actually the last boss in the dungeon. He drops Iron Foe and Hand of Justice, which are incredible items for melee and Fury Warriors specifically. This is what's referred to as Emp runs, and it kind of belongs on this list, but the arena run is way easier and it fits the list a lot better, so I tried to focus specifically on the arena run. Okay, now this is the last one that I'm going to cover on this list, and the reason that I put it last is actually because it's not going to be available until Phase 2 once Dire Maul is released. It's not really so far away, it's going to be available eventually, probably sooner than you think, but in Dire Maul North, there's actually guard bosses spread throughout the entire dungeon. There's 3 of them. They're optional depending on whether or not you're going for a tribute run or not, so either leave them alive in order to get the goodies from them and the rewards, or you'll kill them and just clear the entire place depending on what you're looking for in the run. The first guard is basically right at the entrance. All you gotta do to get there is kill 1 pack here to the left and a couple pats in the field. Then you can just pull the boss, maybe drag him back a little bit, and it's an easy kill, basically right as you got in the dungeon. So you can just easily jump in, get Moldar, and reset. Guard Moldar drops these items. He's got bulky iron shoulders, which are one of the best pre-raid shoulders available for tanks before Molten Core. We've got Den Watcher's shoulders, which are really nice entry-level healer shoulder pads. We've got Heliotrope Cloak, which is one of the better starter cloaks, especially for mages who are looking for as much crit as possible after their hit cap. We've got Sublime Wrist Guards, which are one of the only cloth bracers in the entire game that have spell power outside of raiding. Every single caster must get these bracers before even thinking about getting into a raid, especially considering how easy they are to get. We've got the Hedge Cutter, which is a decent starter weapon for a tank, but those are only the blues. This guy actually also drops green items as well, and those green items are actually quite good. Some better than blue counterparts available in any dungeon, really. So let's focus on these specifically. He drops Gallant Wrist Guards, which are one of the best paladin healing bracers for pretty much forever. They're basically on par with Loomguard armbands. Since intellect is so good on paladins, the loss of maybe 4+ healing to get a +7 intellect bonus is a pretty good trade-off, I'd say. These 2 bracers, like I said, are the best bracers on a holy paladin till AQ 40. So yep, green bracers. Lots of great items off this guy, extremely easy to get, literally right at the entrance. And another really quick one that I want to tag on here when it comes to Dire Maul are 2 early bosses in Dire Maul West, which drop very strong healer items, which can last so many raid tiers. And I know in all my other videos, you guys are always like, oh, you're always focusing on Fury Warrior items and Rogue items. This is because there's so many damn good ones in the early times of classic WoW. But here, we got a good amount of healer ones. So all you need to do here is make your way through the early portions of the dungeon and make it to the undead side. And at the back of that tunnel, there's Mind Tap Talisman that drops off Magister Calendris. And above that boss, up the ramp onto the roof, you could also get Padre's Trouser from Ilyana Ravenoak. So 2 very early bosses within the dungeon, and it's quite easy to get them since you could actually skip a bunch of mobs to actually get there. So these 2 items specifically that drop are incredibly well itemized. You can keep these for many raid tiers depending on how lucky you are or if you just feel like passing an item to somebody who needs them more. Padre's Trousers, for example, again is an item that I used on my priest till Nax. Okay, so there you have it, guys. Another Punkrat guide for the masses. This information will surely be of use to you when it comes to getting pre-raid ready. I might have missed a couple, so if you know any good ones, let me know, of course, in the comments. And I know in BRD, there's actually bosses like Lord Rockar and other guys that are basically right next to the arena that also drop nice items, so you can kill them if you want to as well. You aren't forced to just do one boss. You can do a couple and then reset if you like. Just take a look at Atlas loot and, make some decisions depending on what you guys want to ping. I really hope this video helps you out with your pre-raid grind, guys. Character progression feels so great in vanilla, and the journey to get your set together will be filled with awesome adventure that retail just cannot rival whatsoever. Trust me on that. I'm so excited, and I've been contemplating my hunter in the early days of raiding, what weapons I'm gonna have, what I'll be pushing for, the whole process of gearing my character out. If you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Of course, you guys know the drill. Make sure to follow me on Twitch, guys. I'll be going all in on streaming come launch. Join the Discord to join the family. My Discord is a really raw, fun place filled with memes. It's not an over-regulated Discord like most of the gaming ones out there with, power tripping moderators that are controlling every aspect and annoying you with all kinds of burdensome rules and like, you can't type this in this chat, you have to type all this annoying stuff. It's a really cool place. I'm also talking there every single day. I don't just send at everyone messages with, you know, my stream links and ignore pretty much everything that people are talking about like most content creators. I'm engaging with my viewers absolutely every day. Come join the family. And with that said, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.